Hello and welcome to Python tutorial 1. Today I'm just going to discuss the basic of Python and we're going to discuss Python syntax and variable declaration. We'll also discuss one of the very important output statement, that is print, which is used very frequently in Python. Focus skills will be understanding the syntax of Python, defining and declaration of variables. What are the rules for writing variable name? We'll also discuss rules of syntax for Python, and in the last we'll practice print statement. Python syntax. Now, syntax of any programming language is just a set of rules that define how a Python or how a programming language should be written and interpreted. Same thing applies for Python. So Python syntax is just some set of rules and how to write down the different statements in Python. One of the basic rules for Python syntax is that it's case sensitive. It means that we have to take care of if we're writing capital or in small letters. All Python statements are usually written in small letters. Some of the variable values, like boolean true and false, boolean values of true and false, it's written with in a title case. So as we'll proceed further, you'll understand more syntax rules. But yes, it is case sensitive. Second thing is that spaces and indentations matter a lot. This is one of the very common error, and mostly if you're giving some extra spaces in start, you'll find some error if you have done indentation. You'll find an unexpected indent error. So these indentation in Python indicates a block of code. So these spaces and indentation matters a lot. Comments start with the with the number sign, with the hashtag sign. No commands, there is no command terminator. So usually, like for example, in some programming language, semicolon is used as a command terminator, but in Python, when you're starting a new line, that will act as a commands terminator. There is a way that you can write on more than one expressions or more than one code in one line, and in that case, you have to write down a semicolon. You can use a semicolon as a command terminator or code that expression terminator, but in other case, you can just enter a new line for the new command. Sometimes you may your one expression or one coding line, like one expression could be on more than one line. In that case, you can use backslash at the end of each line to to tell that this expression is still continued. The other way is that you can use parentheses to show the continuity or to make one block of expression. So let's start working towards and show how the code acts. First of all, I'm using an online compiler. So the name of website is onlinegdb.com, and you can find the link in the description. Now here I have signed in with my Google account. So I haven't made a new account. I just signed it with my Google account. And once I've signed in, I can start working on it. So for example, here you can see I haven't signed in yet. So if I have to say, I'll say sign up, and I'm just using Google Plus, and that's all. So once you have signed in, then you can start working with the you can see that your name is there and you can start working with the code. I'm using Python 3 language here. I'm using this online compiler so that we'll not have to save some time for installation, and it's also quick to use this one. So this is my Python 3 coding space. I can write on my code here, and the code will when I'll run the code, it will come here. So the first statement I'm going to run is the most common one, that is print statement. Now, as I've told you earlier, that the Python is case sensitive. So if, for example, I will write on capital print, it will be a problem. So I'll have to write it down in small letters, print. If I'll write down in capital, you can see. So for example, I have written print and I'm writing welcome. When I run, it will give an error. Name print is not defined. So we have to write on in small letters. So that's how we write on print. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write down, I'm going to extend this line saying, so in Python, any string or text, text is called string. So in Python, the strings are written in double quotes. So whenever you're writing double quote, you're actually double quote or single quote, any quotation mark. So for example, if you want to write on the same statement, you can either write it down in double quote or single quote. Both will be considered as text. So I'm using single quote here, and you can see it will also run fine without an error. However, it's like a yes. So if you're starting with a single quote, you must end up with a single quote. You can't write on a double quote. Then the other thing is sometimes you want to write on multi-line characters. So in that case, look, I've started with single quote and I'm ending with double quote. That would create a problem. So I have to write on with single quote. The other thing about this print statement is that, for example, yeah, if you want to write on something in quote mark, in quotation mark, you can do it in an easy way. For example, I'm writing this print statement, the string in this string statement with double quote. So if I want to write down Python, if I want to show in my output that Python has a quotation mark around it, I can use single quote around it then. So when I use single quote, it would be printed. Let's run it and see the result. So you can see welcome to Python. It's happening. Python is with single quote marks around. It's only because, as I've explained to you earlier, that double quote we are starting and ending, and in between I'm presenting Python with single quote. Similarly, in the second statement, I have written my string statement in the single quote and I'm putting my Python around a double quote. If I'll run it, so you can see the output. Okay, so that's a easy way to write on anything with single quote or double quote. You can pause the program here and you can practice some more print statement. You can give a small introduction about yourself using a print statement. And when you're going to do a small introduction about yourself, it can exceed more than one line. How will you deal that thing? Let me write down some of the lines and you can see if you're writing more than one line and every time you're going to the next line, whenever you press enter, it is becoming a new line, it's becoming a new command. So when I'm writing I'm a student high school, um, so now well, we can write on the same in the same line, but for example if you want to write on in a new line, the easiest way is that you press enter. So for example, if I press enter here, it will give me an error. You can see the change in color, so it's not becoming the same line. So the other thing that you can do is write on another print statement and then write on another string as you want to write on. But more than easier than that part is that you can write down a multi-line text in a print statement by using triple quote. So for example, if I'm writing one, two, three triple quote, it will make a multi-line text, and wherever I'm pressing enter and wherever I'm starting a new line, it won't give me an error, it will actually make it a new line. So let's see how it's going. I'm just writing another line to show you that these two sentences would stay in one line. Okay, so let's run it. When I run it, you can see that with the triple quote I can write on multi-line statement, and multi-line string. And the other thing, multi-line strings actually, not the statement, multi-line strings. And you can see that wherever I put enter, the new line is starting. So that's all. Just practice it, and then we'll move towards variables. Now, what's a variable? Python variables are actually the containers for storing data values. But in Python variables, there are some rules for writing variables. The most conventional method is to write down small variable names, small descriptive variable names. So, for example, if you're defining a variable for temporary, you might want to name it as temp. And if you want to make a variable for maximum number, you might want to name it as max. So something like that. No declaration is required. So there is no statement to declare the variables. The Python variables are created by assigning it a value. So the moment you assign it a value, the Python variable is created. Python variables are case sensitive. It means if you have given a name like number one and n is capital, you must use all the time n capital for number one variable whenever you're trying to address the number one whenever you're trying to refer, address, or take a value from number one. So they're kind of sensitive. Variables can change type. So for example, like let's do it step by step, and I'll show you a variable and we'll start working on it. So for example, I'm defining a variable here. So can I declare a variable? I don't need to declare it specifically. I can just write on a variable. For example, I'm writing x as a variable and I'm saying x is equal to. So the moment I'm describing that x is equal to, what should I write on? Let's say Python. So Python is a string that I'm placing in x variable. So the moment I initialize my variable, the moment I assign it a value initialization, at that moment x is being created. So if I want to print this variable, I can write on print and I can write on the name of variable x and it would be printed. Now the other thing that I would let's run it and see how does it look like. So you can see that x print x and x is having Python, so it's being declared there. Okay, and it's printing the value. The second thing I'm saying is variable can change type. So variable can change type means like if x is having Python and that is a string, if I want to change its type and instead of saying in the same variable x, I want to put a number, so I can do it. So if I have to put a number, I have to write it down without inverted comma. So I'm still using x and I'm saying 76. So now if I print x, you will be able to see that it's not giving an error. It won't give an error. First, it's printing Python, which is in line 2 code, and then it's printing from line 4 76. Okay, so we can change the variable type. Must start with a letter or an underscore character. We can't use a variable that's starting with a number. So for example, I'm writing x is equal to Python, and it was accepted as a variable. But if I'll write on 1x, and if I'll run this program, it's going to give me an error. But at the same time, I can use number. It's not that I can't use number as a variable name, but I'll have to use it. But the variable name must start with first letter, with either number or underscore, but not with numbers at all. You can't make a variable name. You can't start a variable name with numbers. Let's run it. So x1, okay, it's giving a error saying traceback error, name error, x doesn't exist. Actually, I changed the name x1 here, but I forgot to change it here. So if when I write on x1 here, it won't give an error anymore. You can see that this Python is stored in x1 and then print x1, and this is printed here. Then I'm storing x is equal to 76 and then print x. Okay. We can also use underscore, so you can use underscore 23. Oh, it's again, I forgot to print it here also. So it's working fine. Okay, if I want an underscore in start, let's try that one also. So I'm saying underscore x, and then I'm gonna print underscore x, and the value I'm assigning is 76. So if I run it, you can see it's working fine. The only thing is that you cannot start with a number. Okay, and that's all. Can only contain alphanumeric characters and underscore. You cannot contain variable names shouldn't have any special characters. That's all for today, and you can see how we have used variable name and how we have printed it. Oh yeah, one more thing. You can also print your variable names together. So for example, this is welcome to Python, and then I want to print something like whatever the variable name is. I'm gonna make it simple again rather than saying underscore x. I'm just naming it x. So for example, if I want the two statements together, the variable value pressed together, plus is the sign which is used to join the two things together. So for example, if I want to print the value in this one, so we can just use this variable name, and when I'll run it, it will print welcome to Python, and then it's printing this variable name also. If instead of this variable name I want to print only x, let's print x and see, and it's going to give us an error because x is containing a number. Okay, so it cannot add it in there. How will we concat? Because plus is a concatenation operator when you are joining the two strings together. Okay, so let's run it and see. If I'm putting a comma here, then it's easily printing 76. So if you have to print a string with a number variable, you have to put comma. If you have to print a string with a string variable, you can easily put plus sign. That will be joining the two strings together. Okay, so that's all for today. Practice it and enjoy. Thank you very much. Okay, one more thing about this online GDB is that you can save your program. So once you are done, you can save it, give it a proper name. So this is my first program. It's about variable. So I'm writing variable basic. And then I'm giving it py extension because all our Python program needs an extension of py. Once it is stored, you can it is stored. You can easily download it, and